Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. This video was meant to be something completely different. It was meant to be something revelatory. It was meant to be something that would make you astounded when I told you everything involved. Unfortunately, I can't do that video. I'm not going to say why. There are ramifications if I gave any details whatsoever. This is like one of those newspapers where they print a blank front page and said, we're not allowed to talk about it. Because I'm not allowed to talk about it. Now, the other day, on Sunday, I did a video about an article in the Scottish Sunday Express with regards to the COVID inquiry. And you can go back. I will put a link to that article, which I cannot discuss. I can say that the article exists. I cannot discuss the contents of that article. This is very weird. However, having had advice, because the article is now out in the public domain, although I can't talk about the article, the contents of that article, I can at least point to it. So there is there. It's on my site, and I will put a link down in the comments below, and you can go back and watch the article. And there you go. What's astounding? You can't go. You can go watch my video about the article. Let's get that straight. What you can't do is you can't go back to the Scottish Sunday Express and reread that article. That article has been pulled by the paper. Now, I can't go into details. I have contacted today Ben Borland, who was the reporter, the journalist and editor of the paper, and I have spoken to him. And I have inquired as to the reason this article was pulled. He's indicated to me that there was no injunction put in place, but which is why I'm able to talk about the fact that there's an article existing. If there was an injunction, I couldn't even mention that there was an article. However, it would be contempt of court to mention the contents of that article. British law is archaic, isn't it? It's very weird. So I can mention that the thing exists. I can't mention the contents of it. What I can mention is that that article no longer exists. It has been pulled. Now, there is way more to this story than I can possibly shake a stick at. It is incredibly big. It is massively big. And yet I can tell you nothing of it. I'm, on one hand, careful about the contempt of court issue. On the other hand, I have several sources who don't want to be named. They don't want what they've said to be made public. They don't want to get involved. They've told me in good faith, and they've asked me to say nothing. And so I am going to say nothing. Let's leave that there. I know what the story is, mainly. Bare bones. Nothing great. Don't know all the details, of course. But I've got a rough framework of what the story is. And I'm not going to talk about it. The interesting thing is that the story has been pulled. Now, you may speculate as to the reasoning behind. Who, for example, will have told the Daily Telegraph that there may be issues, who would be important enough in the legal arena of Scotland that their decision may be considered worthy listening to. He or she may be someone senior, perhaps, who has perhaps somehow allegedly interfered with the freedom of the press. And that's all I'm going to say. Please feel free to speculate as to what you think is going on, as to why a national newspaper has a story it's previously released pulled. There's a link to my video below. Please go and have a look at the story once more. And then we'll move on. Thank you very much. I'm leaving it there as far as the story goes. Now, there is one other thing, because I have been speaking obviously with Craig over this. I believe Craig will be putting out a video on this later. I think he may be Maybe coming from a slightly different view. But as I say, no names from me, no pack drill. The only name I mentioned is Ben Borland, who was the author of the original piece and with whom I have had contact. Other than Craig, from Craig Houston Talks To. So keep an eye out for his video later as well. And we will leave that there. We'll park that one away. So generally, there is just this whole shenanigans. This is a separate observation. There's a whole load of shenanigans going on in Scotland. There seems to be interference from government, perhaps allegedly in the freedom of the press. There seems to be the clamping down on certain stories by the government because they don't like the optics of various stories, perhaps allegedly. Should the Daily Express have the balls? Should the Daily Express talk about the story? Talk about why the story's being pulled? I think yes. Do I think that the Daily Express has been got to? Again, I think yes. I think pressure has come to bear from certain people in very senior positions within the government and or the judiciary. Not that there's much of an or, is there? But this is what's happened. This is, as far as I can tell, this is what's happened. They have the COVID inquiries going on. They don't want people being aware. They don't want the truth to come out. It's very weird, isn't it? They want to keep you in the dark at all stages because for various people in authority, the truth is absolutely devastating. They're doing everything they can do. Every sneaky trick, every legal means, every semi or paralegal means, every shady means. And it wouldn't surprise me if there was various illegal means as well. I think the Daily Express should be ashamed of themselves for not pushing this out. I'm not blaming Ben Borland. I'm pretty sure Ben Borland will have been advised by the paper's lawyers, but in terms of whoever's in charge of the paper at the very top, I think they need to grow a pair and say no, sod that, and push it and get all their staff writing on this. Freedom of the press is important. It is ultimately what holds the government to account, and if you've got a press kowtowing and subservient to the government, democracy is not well served, honesty is not well served, the truth is not well served, and the people of Scotland are being hoodwinked once again, gaslighted and treated with contempt. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you very much for listening. I'll sign off. Goodbye.